What's going on, guys? First off, welcome back. It's been a really long time. I don't think I made a video since like April this year. It's probably been like a few solid months. So I'm alive. It wasn't my intention to go so long without making videos, but my life has been absolutely crazy. Doing grad school classes, buying a house, going on a honeymoon. There's literally just been so little time for me to really, be involved in making videos and content and things like that. But now that that stuff's been taken care of, I'm really hoping to get back into the swing of things, making videos in the fall. So first off, my first topic, really in quite a while, I want to talk about MLS players who I think are underrated, undervalued, underpriced as we go into the last third of the season, as we go into the off season. Um, so I want to sort of cover this in two ways. There are a lot of players who I think are really going to skyrocket in value at the start of next season, like January, February, right into the next MLS season in 2023. But I also want to talk about a couple of players who I think might be underpriced and even see the price increase towards the end of the current season. I know as we typically think, oh, like as we closer to the end of the season, prices will continue to drop. But in this case, because it's the World Cup's happening at the end of the year, right in the winter, I think there's a good opportunity to buy some players now or in the near future, and then maybe flip them as we approach the World Cup, or maybe even as the World Cup is about to begin or is underway. So I'm just going to go through a handful of guys that I thought about because some people asked me what my opinions were on some underpriced players in the MLS, some guys who are undervalued, guys you could probably flip right in the off season, or maybe even keep and use as long-term holds right into the next 2023 MLS season. Because if you want to build an MLS team, now is the time to do it. Prices have dropped significantly in ETH terms. A lot of players have also dropped somewhat in fiat terms because people are swapping out for European players. Also, maybe I think people are sometimes selling their MLS guys to get into the baseball side of things. So if you want to start building people or start building lineups, you really kind of want to start now and do it over the next month or two, while prices, in my opinion, are significantly lower for top quality talent in the Americas division. So with that being said, let's go get started and look at some guys who I think are underrated, undervalued, underpriced, that you might want to pick up or think about over the next month or two. The first one is honestly the most expensive guy on my list for today. I kind of want to just start with the priciest guy on my list, just get him out of the way. That's Yaroslav Nizgoda, right? Now, if any of you guys have watched my earlier videos from the first half of this year, especially during like the off season when I was making videos about guys who might be underpriced or bargains going into the current season, this is one of the guys I mentioned. And to be honest with you, he's still undervalued or underpriced. His price has gone up a little bit recently. You can see that I actually bought him just not too long ago, and his price has gone up since then. And it's gone up for a really important reason, just also why I think his price will continue to go up as we approach the off season into the 2023 MLS season that should start in like somewhere like late February or early March, something like that. For those of you who are out of the loop, who don't pay attention to the MLS much, one of the star players for the Timbers, Felipe Mora, right, he was a guy who he bagged a bunch of decisives last season. He had some season-ending surgery at the end of last year, right? He's pretty much been out for most of this year. He only recently came back. He also just had a second season-ending surgery on his knee. I think they said it was like a cartilage restoration surgery, and the average timeline for that kind of surgery is like 9 months. So I wouldn't even expect him to start like fully training or come back to training for another 9 months or so. Which means, if you look at the calendar, right, then at the very least, Nizgoda is the number one starting forward for the Portland Timbers, okay, who are a very good scoring side, until probably June at the earliest, right? He might even just lock in the spot as a starting forward for all of next season as well, like he has this season. Because Felipe Mora, for all intents and purposes, is out of the picture, right? For at least the next 9 to 10 months. So you're looking at a locked-in forward, the number one guy, the number one center forward, on a good scoring team for really the rest of this season, and probably at least half, if not all, of next season, depending on how Felipe Mora looks when he comes back from injury midway through next season. So again, prices dirt cheap. The Timbers are, I think they're like top 5 in terms of goals scored this season. I think they've been on a pretty good run lately in terms of scoring goals. They had kind of a dry spell like in the middle of the season, but they've really picked up form lately in terms of their offense. And so you're getting a starting forward on a top 5 goal scoring team for I don't know, a couple $100, which in the grand scheme of things, compare them to like European counterparts, that's pretty cheap. So this is a budget level guy who can put up big numbers, okay, big scores. Right, look at this. 3, 1, 2, 3. Right. Well, yeah. So he's got really, look at this run of performance, right? 70s, 80s, right? A big stretch of those. That's really good, right? So imagine using him in All-Star in March, in April, when you can win European cards or this pricey European cards. That's really, really good value, right? Right? Striker, a couple $100 can maybe win you a Messi, an Mbappe, right? Those really star European guys in March and April and May of next year. So got to look at, got to think about. Really good value, despite his price going up a little bit recently, right? Bought him for around 0.2. Can still get him for close to that, right? Last sale was like 0.23, so not much of a difference really. Another guy who maybe people forgot about because he has had a pretty significant injury and he's out for really most of the season, is Joao Paulo. He's also my second most expensive guy on this list. If you're thinking, oh man, he's talking about like all these expensive cards, guys who are out of my budget, these two guys are by far the most expensive, and I'm looking at a lot more budget-friendly players from here on out. But first off, real quick, Joao Paulo, Seattle really is not the same without him. You know that once he's healthy, he's going to go back to that starting role as that playmaker in the midfield. Because honestly, they need his creative ability. They need his set piece ability, right? He can unlock defenses. So once he's back, you know he's going to be playing every game when healthy, or almost every game, right? There might be some rotation here or there because of his age, but once fully healthy, you know he's going to be there most of the time. You can pick him up. Again, really a fraction of his price. I think at the start of the season, he was going for like 0.4 ETH or 0.5 ETH or half an ETH. And that's when Ethereum was like, I don't know, $3,000 a piece, right? Roughly 3,000 each. So you're talking about a guy who's $150, $160, while Ethereum is like, I don't know, $1,500, $1,600, right? So really cheap, really good bargain. You know his price is going to probably at least double come the start of next season when he's healthy and he's fully playing again, right? So again, can't really use him this season, but if you're looking towards the long term, right, you're looking towards the future, and you want a guy who's like a guaranteed flip for a profit, hold on to this guy for half a year, you're probably going to make double your ETH, potentially even more, because that's how important he is to a really good Seattle team. All right, let's look at some more budget options. Jack Elliott. I recently bought Jack Elliott again. I actually bought him a long time ago, sold him, and then just rebought him, I think like last week or a couple weeks ago, for a really important reason, for a couple reasons. One, the server matrix is changing, which actually favors him a lot, right? Now, as we know, if you're like a diehard server fan, you know the matrix is going to change, you know how it's going to change. You know the change actually hurts most center backs, right? However, Jack Elliott is one of the few center backs who actually gets a pretty solid boost from the matrix change. And here's why. At the start of the season, the coach wanted Jack Elliott to have more long balls, right? He wanted them to launch the ball up the field more. He wanted him to try to do more like through balls to the final third, right? He wanted to launch it more to the final third, see if he can get a ball behind the defense to Ua or to Carranza. So because of that, his possession game kind of dropped off, right? Let's look at this season. You can see like this area here, right? That's mainly because of the changes in how he was asked to play, or his style of play, where he essentially lost a lot more possession than is typical or usual for a center back, right? Now, the new matrix is going to reduce the possession loss deduction for defenders, which is absolutely huge for Jack Elliott, who's a center back who plays the ball more, who also is responsible tasked with launching the ball up the field more often than he had in prior seasons, right? So if we look at the matrix change, for some, you can see a lot of games, not a significant change, but for some of them, right, this one gets 4 additional points. This one gets 3 additional points, right? For some stuff, it's statistically significant, right? He's getting a pretty decent bounce back in terms of his possession score once Matrix changes. So that's the first big reason why I really like him going into the new Matrix meta. The second reason why I really like him is the new Matrix meta heavily favors top defenses, right? You guys know the goals conceded penalty, it's going to be a lot harsher on teams, right? So goalies will now lose 3 points per goal given up. Defenders will now lose 4 points per goal conceded instead of 2 points, right? That penalty is pretty harsh. So what that means is you really want to focus on owning the guys really only on the top defenses. And the guys in Philly, they're by far the top defense. As a matter of fact, Philly this season, the Union this season, are on pace to set a record in terms of fewest goals allowed. They're already 2/3 of the way through the season, and they've only given up 15 goals. And in a league like MLS, where defense isn't necessarily, their strong suit, that's actually an incredibly good record, right? MLS defenses aren't great, goalkeeping really isn't that great. So if you're going to play the American division, right, if you're going to play Champion America, you have to own the guys right on the top defenses, which currently is, New York City, so Thiago Martins, Alex McCallens, who, by the way, is a free agent. So maybe not own Callens next season because you have no idea where he's going to go. But Philly, Glesnes is signed through 2024. Jack Elliott is signed through 2024. So you're going to have that defensive core, right, with Andre Blake in goal. You're going to have that core locked in through next season at the very least, right? So if you're going to play America Division next season, if you're going to own MLS cards next season, you have to own the guys in the best teams. And Jack Elliott, therefore, gets a boost in a couple ways. Right now, he's selling for about 0.1, 0.2 even on the high side. I think he's going to be selling for like over 0.2 by the start of next season, by the 2023 season, right? Because everyone's going to be like, hey, I got to own the guys in the best defenses. Philly is by far the best defense in the league that really doesn't play defense all that much. So he's going to be at a premium. Glesnes, right, his counterpart at center back, is also going to be at a premium. You want to own those guys because their price, I think, is going to go up when people start shifting their defensive gallery towards the new Matrix meta in the 2023 season. Okay, Elliott, definitely a guy you want to look out for, and then going into the new meta next season. All right, number 3. And don't trust me, guys. I got a bunch. I think I got like 10 or 11 guys in the docket that I'm going to go through. So number 3, Keaton Parks. Keaton Parks, approximately, I want to say about a month ago, like beginning of July, end of June, somewhere around there, he had blood clot surgery on his leg. Blood clot surgery it's not really a season-ending injury. I think it's expected for him to be out for like 2 to 3 months. Now, blood clots, typically require you to take blood thinner medication, so don't expect him back right away. He's probably going to be like integrated back in slowly but surely because of being on blood thinners. But he should probably be back and honestly able to start by the MLS playoffs this season, and definitely by the start of next season, right? Because it's really not a long-term injury or long-term rehab from that leg surgery. He is the heart and soul of the midfield. NYC has still been pretty good without him, but Morales and Acevedo in that midfield has been a pretty big downgrade from Keaton Parks in the midfield. The coach knows how important he is. The fans know how important he is. Everybody says, man, we cannot wait to have him back. So you know that he's going to be in the starting lineup when he's healthy. He typically wasn't starting lineup when healthy, for the most part. And look how cheap he is, right? This is a guy who can put up 70s, 80s, really good scores, just off of AA alone. Right, this is a guy who's really good in space. He's really good at like passes that can unlock the final third. Right, really integral part of that team. Right, so when he's healthy, let's take these off real quick and see. Right, look at that. When he's healthy and he's starting, he's got a really, really, really good average, right? And again, most of these scores are not from decisives. He has decisive potential, but most of these scores are not from decisives, which is really important. His AA game is really, really solid. One of the better ones in the MLS, right, in the Americas division. You can pick him up for dirt cheap, right? This is a price that you pay for, like, honestly, kind of like a scrub, but a starter level, but scrub level guy in the MLS. I think by the time next season starts, he's going to be selling for double this, right? At least 0.15, somewhere between 0.15 and 0.2, if I had to guess. So if you want to buy a guy for a long-term hold, really good value. If you want to buy this guy to flip him in the off-season, again, really good value. He's only 24 years old, right? So if you want to hold him, you hold him for a really long time, and he'll be usable, and he'll be a starter for a really long time. I love this guy as an option. Another guy who I think has honestly been overlooked a lot, especially if you're not like an MLS fan or an MLS expert, you don't pay attention to MLS, is Ryan Raveloson of the Galaxy. Now, I might be thinking, why the heck do I want Ryan Raveloson, right? His L40 isn't good, it's sub 50. His L15 is sub 50. Why would I care about this guy? Like, if you look at scores, right, why would I want this? This is trash, right? 40s, 30s. Well, to be totally honest with you, again, this is where it comes, watching games and knowing the MLS comes in handy, is recently, actually starting around like about a month ago, Coach Greg Vanny of the Galaxy, he decided to do a slight formation change for the Galaxy. Okay, I'm going to actually bring up the Galaxy formation to show you. For a long time, the midfield was Raveloson and Delgado. Delgado and Raveloson typically played, a little deeper. They really didn't like push up the field that much, right? More of just like, like anchors in midfield rather than necessarily box to box. However, the coach now wants Raveloson to get forward a lot more, right? He wants the guy to get into the penalty box a lot more. He wants the guy to be more involved in attacking movements, right? Trying to lead the goals or score goals directly. And so I think his decisive potential is much higher than it used to be, right? See back here, again, like I said, he wasn't supposed to get involved in the offense that much. But now the coach wants him to get forward, wants him to get into the box. And you can see it's kind of paying dividends, right? A lot more better AA because of his, being involved in an attack, scoring goals, getting into assists, right? So because of this knowledge or this in-depth knowledge of how the team is working, how they're trying to change the formation to score more goals, because to be honest, the Galaxy have been great at scoring goals for a while. That knowledge comes in handy because this guy has much better decisive potential than the past. And so I think if you pick him up in the offseason or towards the end of the season, he'll probably drop a little bit more, maybe like back then like 0.9 or 0.1, sorry, 0.09 or 0.1. You're going to get a guy who's a locked-in starter and a guy who will have more decisive potential than his prior scores realize, right? So here's why you're going to get a jump on everyone else. All these European people, we're going to have to rotate back in MLS. They're going to see these scores and they're going to be like, man, this guy's trash, right? Why would I want to buy this guy to build my new MLS team for 2023? Whereas because you watched the video, well, this guy's decisive potential, right? His ceiling is going to be much higher than in the past because of this recent change in their formation, change in their offensive movement, right? Change in this guy's role in the team. So Raveloson, a pretty decent budget-ish option for the next season, as long as they try to continue to use him more and more in the attacking third. Another guy who's honestly pretty underlooked, despite being worth a crapload in the past. Right, look at this guy. Used to be worth like over 0.2, even pretty recently. Right, as recently as like really like midsummer or early summer. Is Antonio Carlos. Antonio Carlos had a leg injury. I think it was like a hamstring injury. He was out for like a couple months, and then when he came back, right when he was training, he was like getting really spotty playing time. Like he'd sub in for a bit, start a game, then he'd sit on the bench and not play at all, and then he'd sub in again. They're just like really spotty, kind of unpredictable usage in the team, which is why his price dropped so much. People, I think to the average person who doesn't follow MLS much, they're like, oh, he's lost his spot. Rodrigo Schlegel has won his spot. Tony Carlos is relegated to the bench or as a rotation option, so I don't want to buy him or I want to sell him. But again, if you know the MLS, right, if you know about the teams, you know that he is their best player on defense. He's the guy that really leads the defense. He's kind of like the captain of the defense. And so now that he's healthy, he's actually started 2 games in a row. He started the cup game in midweek. He just started their game over the weekend, so 2 games in a row over a short span of time. That tells you he's fully healthy. It tells you that the coach trusts him to play 90 minutes again, or play the whole game through. And so you're getting one of the best AA scorers, one of the best center backs in the America division, especially the MLS, for a basement level price, right? $100, a little over $100 for a guy who can score over 60 points without, without a clean sheet, without a decisive, right? That's incredibly valuable, right? A guy who can bang in 60s without even getting a clean sheet on the team. So really important to keep an eye on him. If I were you, I'd buy him ASAP. Full disclosure, I own him. So, right, kind of put him in my bags a little bit. But again, this price is not going to last long when the average casual server user realizes that he is back healthy, he's back to starting consistently, and you see that L15 creep up again and L5 creep up again, because he'll be consistently starting, right? So grab him while he's cheap, because once these scores pop up again, since he's healthy, this price will easily go back up here, right? These points. He's pretty much near the bottom as far as I'm concerned. All right, another guy who I think has a lot of upside, maybe a little riskier, is his counterpart, Jean Moutinho, who's the fullback. As you guys all know, fullbacks are getting a boost in the new Matrix meta. This guy was already really good in the current meta. He's going to get a boost once possession loss is reduced. This guy, really, really high upside. He also, in my opinion, I think he has like Europe transfer level upside. So if you want to buy a guy or invest in a guy who you think might get a move to a European team, and you all know European players who start kind of have like a premium, right? Because everybody wants to own like guys in European clubs who they can watch on TV. Another guy to watch out for. One of my, I think, best budget finds or budget options, really, and I don't even know why he's a budget option, to be honest with you, is Eric Williamson. Starter again on a top 5 goal scoring team in the MLS. Actually, if you look at his stats, actually let's look at Eric Williamson real quick. MLS FBref. For those of you who don't know, FBref is a really good stats site, really good in-depth stats. Let's look at goal and shot creation. This is a really good stat to look at in terms of guys who contribute to goal scoring attempts, actual goals scored. Let's go ahead and change this to shot creating actions per 90 minutes. Look at Eric Williamson. Where is he? Oh, he's here somewhere. Why is he not on this list? That's interesting. Oh, well, let me type in Eric Williamson. Alright, there we go. Alright, there we go. That's what I wanted to show you. I don't know why I couldn't find him on that other list, but here's really important stats. He's had a bit of a health issue. He's had kind of a lot of trouble staying on the field consistently over the course of the season. But when he's on the field, right, he is one of the best guys in terms of assists per 90 minutes. Now, when you're scouting players, I think Professor Techers, you guys should know who Professor Techers is, really good videos, really smart guy. He's talked about this before, but when you're scouting players, you want to look at what do they do for the time that they're on the field, right? So per 90 minutes, right, per game that they're on the field. He is one of the assist leaders in the MLS in terms of assists per 90 minutes, in terms of expected assists per 90 minutes, right, in terms of shot creating actions per 90 minutes, meaning that when he's healthy, right, when he's on the field, he is one of the better shot creators, one of the better offensive talents in the entire league, right? So really good decisive potential, really good A potential on the attack side, right? Because he's in terms of attempted assists, in terms of passes in the final third or attacking third, right? He's really one of the best options you have in the MLS. The only problem is, the reason why his price is so low, right? You see, it's 0.069 right now. I think that's actually kind of high. I think recently it's been like closer to like 0.04, 0.05. Yeah, you see that, 0.05. Is his health. When he's healthy, this is what he's capable of, right? When he's healthy, this is what he's capable of. One of the best guys in terms of actually having decisive potential, right? Expected assists, expected shots created, that kind of thing, in the MLS, right? You really can't find a guy much better when healthy. So if you're looking for a guy again for 2023, if you're looking for like a long-term option in that Portland midfield, look no further than Williamson. I actually don't own him yet. He just got injured again. I don't know how long he's going to be out. It seemed like a pretty minor injury. But I think I might be able to squeeze another 0.01, 0.02 out of his price before I pick him up. But I'm definitely picking him up if I can squeeze somebody for a little bit more, right? Get a little bit more value out of him when I use him and flip him next season. So again, I think I made a really good case for Williamson. His price will not get much cheaper. I think his price could easily get to the point of like a Mauricio Pereira or a Lewis Morgan, something like that, right? In the high 0.1, somewhere between like 0.15 and 0.2 next season. I really think he has that much potential to be like a 3x on your buy price right now. Okay, another option, which I think some of you guys may have heard of in some other videos. We'll talk about like the matrix change, but I want to go through him just to talk about him myself, is Raheem Edwards. He is a forward who plays at wingback, right? Now, this has been a problem for a while because, as you guys know, forwards don't get credited for defensive actions, right? They don't get credit for tackles, they don't get points for interceptions. But when they change the matrix, look at that big change, they're now going to get credited for interceptions, right? So they have higher ceilings as wingbacks. So if you're looking for like a budget option at forward, he's obviously not going to score a lot of goals because he's at wingback. But if you're looking for like a good like threshold forward, maybe this is a really, really cheap and almost somewhat reliable option as a threshold forward going into like the end of this season, or the matrix change for the rest of this season once it happens, as well as for the 2023 season, right? Again, forward or wingback, really, really good threshold potential. I don't think he's got like a really high ceiling necessarily, but if you're going for thresholds primarily, this is a really, really good guy to look at. All right, here's a guy who I think is a low risk, potentially high reward option for the rest of this current season, the 2022 season, as well as the 2023 season. Now, again, if you don't watch MLS, you probably don't know this, but I watch MLS a lot. I actually watch every single Philadelphia Union game because I'm a Philly fan myself. And so here's the scoop on Olivier Mbaizo for the Union. One, he's a fullback, so score potential is improved, right? You can see 2 extra points are now 40, which is pretty solid. Number two, he recently won back the starting job from Nathan Harriel at that right fullback position. He was a starter at the start of this current season, He lost the job to Harriel for most of the season. However, Harriel hasn't been playing great. He hasn't been contributing to the offense as much as the coach Jim Curtin would like. Mbaizo is seen as a better attacker. He's also a little more physical than Harriel is, right? He has a more physicality down there as a fullback. And so I'm pretty sure he's won the fullback spot again, the starting job again. And you can see that because he started four of the last 6 games, right? I think Harriel started this one, but for the most part, Mbaizo's getting starts, right? He's playing almost 90 minutes every game, every one of those starts. So I'm pretty certain as a Philly fan that Mbaizo has kind of won that job back, and it's kind of his to lose again for the rest of the season and for next season. Dirt cheap. Philly's defense, again, you want to own the guys on the best defenses, especially once the matrix change goes into effect after game week 300, right? Philly's defense is going to be the best in the league. You want to own the guys in the best defense. He's going to be a fullback, most likely the starting fullback on the best defense in the MLS. Okay, you cannot get much cheaper than this for a starting player on the best defense in the league. Buy him before this changes. Okay, buy him before this changes. I think not only could he be usable going forward, right, in your own teams, but he for sure, right, if he actually locks down the starting job, he for sure will be double, maybe triple this by the start of next season, right? This is like almost as low as you can possibly get for a rare card, and really the only way from here is up for his price. So really good option. Again, the casual silver user is not going to know this because they're probably not watching a lot of MLS games, right? But I watch them, so I can tell you guys what I see and what might be some pretty good bargain basement options or flipping options for the rest of the season going to next. Last but not least, not really a next season hold or flip. Potentially could be a hold because Toronto's been playing a lot better. Toronto has a lot more offensive talent. But I'm kind of looking at Mark Anthony Kaye in Toronto for a World Cup flip. He's a starter for Team Canada, right? So he's probably going to be starting for them in the World Cup this winter. Also, I think his decisive potential in that central midfield role will improve. I don't really watch a lot of Toronto. I watch a lot of MLS, but not really that much Toronto. I think he is a guy who gets forward a lot. Not as much as, say, Jonathan Osorio does, but I think he does get forward a lot. And so now that he's playing with Bernadeschi, now that he's playing with Insigne, he's going to have a lot more decisive options, right? Like assist options going forward. So the decisive potential might be higher here than it was with, say, Colorado. But also, I think his price is probably going to go up once we get closer to the World Cup. So it's a pretty good option for like threshold teams next year. Might even be a good option for a prize winning lineup. If you can prove that he can get more decisives alongside Bernadeschi and Insigne. But he also even, like I said, might be a good flip option going into November when we are in World Cup mode on Soda. So those are a lot of options. I know I took a long time to go through some guys that I've been kind of eyeing or have bought recently or am planning to buy pretty soon when I see like a good opportunity or can get a good deal with somebody. But I hope you guys found this insightful. If you have any comments, please leave them. I read every comment. You can find me on Twitter as Soda Teacher, right? I have the same handle on Twitter. My username on Soda is Can't Whenever. Although I should probably change that because I've been winning a lot of tier 1s and tier 2s lately. Kind of on a roll. I've placed really, really high in America Rare quite a lot lately, so I should probably change that soon. But again, leave me a like, subscribe if you want more content, comment on your thoughts if you agree, disagree, because I read everything. And I will hopefully see you guys next time pretty soon on my channel, Soda Teacher. So see you then, guys. Bye-bye.